It's your boy Coach Defense here. Thanking you for supporting the channel. Become a lockdown defender by hitting that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And if you're enjoying your time, hit that like button. Help us grow in the community. Now check out our latest video. Leave a comment. And as always, you got to step up to lock it down. So let's get into a topic that we've been bouncing around for the last week. For sure. We got to talk about Hard Knocks here. We got to talk about Hard Knocks. And again, we talked about it, with the Bears doing the training camp version. We talked about the in-season with the AFC North. But this all-season version here, man, I'm here to tell you, it's got us question a lot of stuff. And I alluded to early on in this YouTube short, do you sometimes you work a job and you're not sure whether or not they put you in the best position to win, right? You really got to question that, Coach Curry and I discussed this new series, Hard Knocks, with and NFL HBO. They're featuring off season with the Giants. It's all fine and dandy. Now, we both mentioned on several occasions that we scratching our heads about what the Giants are doing at the franchise, and that's before Hard Knocks.
Yep.
Decisions they made thus far as the talent's concerned, all the way down to the idea of signing Daniel Jones, Saquon leaving. But here up on the Sports Talk desk, it's getting interesting here. It's getting interesting. So they pulled back the curtain and let us see exactly what was going on. And it laid credence to the idea of what we thought, right? We thought it was bad, and it's bad. We thought it was bad, it is bad. And they're not helping their case, to say that we're wrong. I think that's where it lands. I think that's the problem. So getting into these rooms, hearing these meetings, hearing the GM, the assistant GM, head coach, and a lot of front office members, talk about certain players and their contracts. So that begs the question: with the current front office and the coach presently making these decisions for the franchise, do you feel, Coach Curry, that the Giants' decision makers are putting them in the best position to win?
That was a dramatic pause. Do I feel?
It was.
Do I feel that they're putting them in the best position to win? That's like saying a dog that licks a porcupine is putting themselves in the best position to enjoy a nice, fresh meal. It's not possible. It's not possible. The Giants are licking a porcupine right now. That's what they're doing. Fully and thoroughly. Fully and thoroughly. You know how we talk about things like you said, and we get a sense. We say something's not right. The Jerry curl is not curling all the way, but we really don't have evidence, right? We just see some things and we don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going on, but something seems off. But maybe it's us looking too far into it. Maybe our analytic eyes are projecting something that is not really there.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, the big eye in the sky don't lie.
Hello.
And we mess around and say, well, look here, glory be.
It might have been worse than we thought.
we was given a benefit. We didn't think it was like that. Like, oh, they actually didn't fully burn down the house, even though they was running around sprinkling gasoline on everything and running around playing with matches.
Oh, man.
Because when I look, and I had to ask myself, we talked about this. I was like, man, hold on. Even when I talked to you about it in the green room offline, I even sat down and said, okay, am I being too critical? Am I over, am I projecting something? Is my dislike being fueled by a bias that I have? And then I watched it again. I watched it twice. And I said, oh, hell to the no. They really a dumpster fire.
It really is, dude.
They really a dumpster fire. And it makes sense why certain things are coming to pass and certain things are coming to play. When you hear certain conversations and you watch certain things, and I know on there they talked about one of the, I guess the PR person was like, oh, people research body language and all that. You don't have to research body language, but I'm gonna give this one quick example and throw it back over to you. if I still want my most dominant offensive weapon to stay in my organization, you don't catch me talking in past tense about the person when I'm talking to them or talking about them, right? If you were my linebacker and I'm like, hey, listen, we want you here in the organization, my verbiage is going to say, I appreciate everything you have done up to this point, and I look forward to what you're going to do in the organization. I look forward to us sitting down and working to figure this out, right? If I'm speaking of you being a part of the organization, if I turn around and say, listen, I think you're a good linebacker, everything you've done, everything that you have did is great. We think that you could really help us. We think that you can do some things that are beneficial, but the things you've done, we give precedence to, but we got to make certain decisions. I'm talking about you as if you're already gone.
Right.
I'm talking about you as if, as boys and men say, we've come to the end of the road.
Right, exactly.
I'm not talking to you and with you in a way that's like, look, we're going to figure this out. We're going to get ourselves in a locker room and we're going to work this until we get contracts that are beneficial for both of us. No, I'm talking about you as if you have one foot out the door. It's the equivalent of talking about you as a linebacker saying, well, in college, he had 170 tackles a game. And so now that he's in the NFL, he's had 180 tackles. That's a lot of wear and tear on his body.
Mm-hmm. So you can't.
But can I still play?
Right. You might still make a plays, or I might chop liver. Which one is it?
Exactly. Am I still balling? Am I still at the height? If you look at me compared to all the others in my position, am I still top tier? If I am, let me worry about the wear and tear.
Right.
Right.
And let's not talk Cole. We're talking about Saquon here. And the fact that they did not treat him like the valuable piece and the entity that he really was for this team. They really really devalued him, for no good reason. And that lends to the idea of the decision-making process that we're talking about here.
They kept justifying it. Kept justifying it.
But what the delineation for me is, because I don't know if you recall this part, but the owner came in, Mara came in and was like, I really don't want to lose Saquon.
Yes.
As the owner, he said that.
Yes.
So somehow or another, that didn't trickle down to the gym and say, I might need to do whatever I need to do because he clearly values Saquon. Now you might look at it from a perspective that he might not know football. I know football. They might look at it from that perspective. But the numbers are the numbers. The production is the production. The only time that you were really successful is when you had your starting quarterback and your running back together. One without the other, neither one of them did much because guess what? When Daniel Jones went on the field, they knew they could just load up and stop Saquon. That's all you had to do. When you had the idea of Daniel Jones being on the field, you at least had to play him honest. And they were able to be successful as a tandem, right? But take Saquon out of the equation altogether, and he's no longer there, period. Not just because of injury, but he's just not there, period. Daniel Jones didn't look like, he didn't look like Josh
mediocre.
Allen.
He looked mediocre at best.
So I don't see how they didn't see that the writing on the wall. And you weren't going to get in free agency, the draft, wherever the case may be, you weren't going to find a better running back. You wasn't going to find a better running back. No. So
and going cheap, and they worked to go cheap. They worked to go. They wanted top tier steak restaurant.
They wanted food. They wanted tomahawk steak, but they wanted to play the ribeye prices.
For Golden Corral prices.
Yeah, they want to play. They wanted to play ribeye prices.
Yeah, and this is my last thing too. I don't like coaches who want to prove how smart they are. I call it the John Gruden effect. Yeah. Right? Yeah. You want to somehow I don't know if you want to lure the people or around you or the players, but it's almost like because you didn't do certain things in your career, you want to show that you're so uber smart, right? That what I saw with him and quarterbacks,
Uh-huh.
it didn't fit well with me. It didn't sit well with me with what he was doing because it was almost like I am doing this to I am doing this to shake your confidence. So if you do come here, you're beholden to me, right?
Are you referring to when he was interviewing Drake May and Jane Daniels? That what you're talking about?
Jane Daniels, Caleb,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
When he was interviewing the quarterback, it was
Okay.
it was it was
context of what you're saying. I think people try to wrap their minds on what you're trying to drive home.
yeah, like what does it matter to tell the kid to play? This is specific to Jane Daniels. You tell the kid to play, you ask him to repeat it, right? You move forward, and then in the midst of him answering a basic question, all of a sudden you say, "And what was that play that I told you?" What?
Right.
What does that what does that retention in that moment matter when you got to get on the field? Are you gonna walk on the field and say, "Oh, hold on, before you throw and snap it"?
That's not
What was the play 3 plays ago that I told? What does that
Yeah.
what does that matter? And that rubbed me because now looking at his trajectory, looking at how he landed this job, isn't it funny at the decline so quickly from hype in Buffalo and then what was happening in Buffalo and then him getting here? And even though we saw certain things, I want to say Josh Allen played better the second half of the season than what he played with Dayball and Ken Dorsey. What they did the second half of the season.
That's not true.
I'm just saying.
His statistical best years were under Dayball. Let's just be clear about that.
Yeah, I'm not saying statistic. I'm saying the way he looked as far as being able to keep Buffalo from being in certain positions. To me, it looked like he had cracked the code. Was it Joe Brady? Is that Joe Brady who's up there in Buffalo now who took over for Ken Dorsey?
Yes, now, yeah.
It looked like he cracked the code to, hey, we know, and maybe that is from seeing it, but it just looked a certain way. And Dayball coming to New York, as you said, hey, you're an offensive person. You supposed to be able to at least make the offense better. It just don't. Some ain't vibing with me.
But I think I'm gonna explain it to you. I don't think it's necessarily the philosophy or the coach in this particular. I think it's decision making because you went from Josh Allen to Daniel Jones.
Yeah,
and you not only went from one to the other. You went from prime, I guess you can say filet mignon to porterhouse.
The overcoaching, I'm such a genius coach. Right. I can take this. Daniel Jones and Josh Allen, talent-wise.
Because you're thinking that you can squeeze water out of a turnip. That's what you think.
There you go.
That's what you go. And that's the problem. So the decision to not only come to the organization knowing Daniel Jones was the quarterback, thinking that you could probably or maybe get more out of him than you could previously. That's mistake number one. Then when you realize it wasn't going to change, and largely due to the fact that y'all were successful because Saquon was around, he's not there anymore. So it's going to really be highlighted now to the point where you understand that Daniel Jones is not your guy. But to not only to see what you could do with him, not do much, kind of limited to the point where you kind of shrunk the playbook and kind of only call certain things because you were too frightened and terrified that he would do the wrong thing. One thing. Then you double down on it from a decision-making perspective, and you give him $40 million a year for 3 years. That part befuddles me. That's the part that
why didn't we see him in the office with the general manager talking?
I don't know. Again, that's why I said this whole dynamic is weird. I'm gonna say it like this. I've been long critical of the decision making process in this new regime. Period. I mean, I'm on record as saying that they long ago should have paid Saquon and Daniel Jones. They shouldn't even have drafted him. They shouldn't even have drafted him. Mind you, it wasn't this group that drafted him. But what most staffs do when they inherit a quarterback, unless he's unquestionably elite, they move off of him. Hell, in certain cases, like in the case of Russell Wilson, when he was a former Super Bowl winning quarterback, you still move off of him because he's not your guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The Giants had every chance to move off of Jones and doing his rookie deal. It ran out. You could have went in a different direction. They got Dayball. He couldn't do nothing Josh Allen like with Daniel Jones. You could have moved off of him then. Dayball thought you can get something out of him. You clearly should have understood at that particular point you could not salvage this project.
Yeah.
That's what it should have been it. The GM in particular, I don't know what but just looking at the first episode, I can tell he is in way over his head. Pause. Once you think that, in this NFL in various roles, you would think that he's come up through the ranks. He's not a fly by night. He's not a, hot, meteoric rise type of guy. He's been in the league for a long time in different roles. So you would think that him knowing that he would know the nuances and what works and what doesn't. It clearly is not clicking with him. It's not.
No.
Because if you don't value Saquon Barkley over Daniel Jones, that's your problem right there.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm gonna say, I hate to say it, Giants fans, but the decisions that he made up to this point set y'all back 3 years.
Oh, clear. Easily.
And I think the end game for this is they're going to struggle mightily without Saquon. And he's going to torment Philly for the next 3 years. Easy. And I really think they're going to I really think they're going to be picking high in the draft next year, probably looking for a quarterback. Because again, we saw in episode 2 how much they were enamored by Drake May. And they were beating down the Patriots' door trying to trade up to get him, and they didn't budge.
Yeah.
So that's another question I had. So if you know he's not the guy, and everybody knows the dog whistling is you were sniffing around other quarterbacks, and you see how he was, in love with Caleb, he was in love with Jaden, he was in love with Drake. That tells you that he don't believe in you and mentally. Right. So what does that do to Daniel Jones' confidence on top of that? He's already shaky at it as it is, and coming off an ACL injury.
Yeah.
It's just bad. It's just bad all the
way around.
No Saquon. Offensive line has had its issues. So you don't have a bell cow running back. All these unproven receivers, Malik Neighbors included. It's just a weird dynamic. And I get it. You have a good coach, in my opinion. I think Dayball is a good offensive coach, but the GM, I'm not a fan. And the problem is, shit rarely rolls uphill. So if the Mara family does get sick of the GM and fire him on their own, which they probably gonna get rid of Dayball too, which might be unfair. I think that you might want to get rid of GM and find you a better GM and keep Dayball. But again, it rarely rolls uphill. So if the GM goes, the K coach probably gonna go with it.
Right.
So then you want to have a tumultuous season, going to be picking high in the draft, and hopefully they can land a quarterback and get it right this time. But I just don't think that the staff, as it's currently constructed, is right. And and this is my final thing. Outside of them not signing Saquon, what they should have done, especially when you only have Daniel Jones at $40 million, not $50 and $60 million, which the top 8 tier quarterbacks are getting. You could have found $12 million for Saquon. You could have. But let's look at the draft itself. They didn't get Drake, right? You were enamored with Drake, but why the hell didn't you pull a trigger on Michael Penix?
Good point.
Why didn't you pull a trigger?
Why do you think they didn't?
I don't know. Well, again, that goes back to the decision-making process. Because again, if I was in bat an eye, they didn't bat an eye. They knew I got my future and my present quarterback already in house. I ain't got to worry about it, and my job is secure.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, if they had Michael Penix backing up Daniel Jones right now, their jobs would be more secure. But I would truly believe that Joe Shane and Brian Daboll got problems, and the Mara family would be looking at them funny if they look really bad this year, which they're likely going to be. Yeah. But they have a good defense, but again, the defense is going to wear down because your offense can't move the ball, like you talked about earlier with the Bears. If the defense is constantly on the field and the offense can't move the ball, guess what's going to end up happening? Defense is going to wear down, they're going to give up points, you're going to lose games, you're going to be picking top 5 in the draft, and then you'll be looking at you like, well, maybe we need to go in a different direction for the both of you. And on top of the fact that Hard Knocks is putting a light on your incompetence is an issue for me. Like you're not only making the wrong decisions, which we thought was going on before we saw this in real time. But now you're putting a public and national eye on the fact that you don't know what you're doing, in my opinion.
Right.
That's an issue.
Right. Yeah.
That's an issue. So
yeah.
I hope Giants fans aren't expecting much, because I don't think you're gonna get much out of this year. And this, I don't know what the hell they thought Joe Shane was gonna do for them, but I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Not a fan. But you got anything else before we move on?
Nah, we're gonna listen. This train wreck has me interested to see the rest of the season, because I'm just like, oh, this is coming off the rails.
I'm just in it for the ignorance. Like I'm just in it for that now. You got me watching football reality TV.
Yeah.
I'm just in it for what's the next shoe going to drop.
Yeah. It just, like you said, it was just certain things that I watched and I caught on to, and I was just stunned. But like you said, it's reality TV, because when looking, it's like, oh, this makes sense now. The decision making,
everything we said that we thought was going on is happening.
Yeah. I only heard, when I think of everybody, you made a great point about the owner. If you haven't seen the episode, when you watch the episode, for anyone catching this replay or anyone that's on live, you could visually see the owner was struggling with the fact of Saquon leaving.
Yes.
He was, I really don't want.
And then go to your rival on top of that.
Exactly. Now you have a player that you give fuel to from 2 years of feeling like he wasn't treated right.
Right. Exactly.
Now you send him to your rival
of all people,
and who is getting paid. You could have made it work. The salary cap went up.
I'm gonna tell you a lot. I'm gonna tell you what's crazy. What's crazy about this whole situation is that Saquon is getting a lot of guaranteed money in this contract. He's not a big cap hit.
No,
he's not a big cap hit.
No.
His cap number is $3 million this year, $5 million next year, and $9 million in his third year, and $19 million in his last year, but that's a void year. So he's not heavy on the cap. So they could have made the money work. You just had to give him a bunch of guaranteed money, and that's what the Eagles do. If they value a player and they want to keep him, they just give him guaranteed money and keep his cap number low. That's the formula.
Yeah. So when looking at that and those decisions and all that, I'm telling you, the Philly Giants game, I'm watching.
I can't wait,
because if there's one person I believe is going to use that fuel, it's going to be Saquon. He's going to work to have a monster game.
I'm talking
a monster game.
120. Yeah.
Look, it's going to be one of those situations. I was better with you. No, you were better with me than playing against me. Because now you're going to see what I can do if you didn't think I was valuable. And just think, Saquon is what some of this Saquon probably didn't know. That's the other thing, right? You get to see behind.
Yeah. All the conversations.
You get to see. Yeah. So now all the people that might have came in your face and, oh, Saquon, I can't believe this. How did all the people that hit you up? Now they in a room and you get to really see who was rooting with you. Like I said, I only counted 2 or 3 people to me that I felt gave a counter argument to the situation. I think the one young guy, the young assistant was like, wait a minute. Right. He's this much of the offense. And he was trying to say, like, y'all do get this dude is a heavy, like you said, Daniel Jones with him is a totally different player.
Right.
Does anybody else not see this? And then when everybody was like, oh, this and that, he got 900 carries. He kind of just like, okay, well, hey,
he playing.
That ain't. I don't sign that check, but I wouldn't get rid of him.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll see how things shake out, but we definitely be watching that Philly Eagles game when they play. I think it's week 6. I think that's the week. So yeah, we definitely gonna see it, and I think Saquon's gonna have a field day. Personally.
Yeah, and for anybody that's catching this replay, tell us what you think. Well, how do you feel about the Hard Knocks episode? And are we spot on, a little bit off, haters, not hating? What do you think?
Right. There it is.